Marylebone in the 1960s and 1970s was a vibrant neighbourhood, known for its cultural significance and dynamic social scene. During this period, Marylebone experienced the spirit of swinging London, which encompassed fashion, music and entertainment. The area was alive with a buzz of excitement. The district attracted people from different backgrounds and nationalities, creating a diverse community.
I live in Marylebone since 1976.
I was born 1948 and lived here till 1965.
I moved to Marylebone High Street in the mid-70s because I was offered a two-bedroom flat above a shop. The shop was an undertaker's with a chapel of rest at the back. But the interesting point was that there was also a private detective in the mews behind that.
I still live in Marylebone. So that's 46 years, 47 years actually. So what was Marylebone like in the 70s? It was very different, like night and day.
It was smart but not hip. It was comfortable, cosmopolitan.
It was just like a village.
You'd go out of your door in the morning, walk down the street, and it would take you half an hour to say hello and goodbye to everybody when you caught up with everybody.
It's a community. We all look out for each other. How often do you get that? It is very special. Mary Quant herself became very famous, mainly because of her swinging haircut.
She was always in a very sharp black suit with her sharp haircut.
And then her clothes were they were affordable and fashionable, which at the time was very good. And she became a very, very famous name.
One of the most interesting things that happened in my time, right at the end of my time in Marylebone, was the Beatles taking over the big building on the corner of Paddington Street and Baker Street and turning it into Apple, which was their logo. And the whole thing was painted. It's just glorious, actually. They didn't actually sell great clothes, but it was just a fantastic place because the Beatles lived all around Marylebone. And Paul McCartney lived only a couple of streets away from here, from St Marylebone Church.
One of the things Marylebone is famous for is this church. All denominations are welcome and the priest will always greet you and say hello. You didn't feel like an oddball at this church.
Entertaining was mainly at home in my era in the 70s, when we invited people round any evening, but particularly on a Friday and a Saturday, and also for Sunday lunch. Often I would do a roast on a Sunday.
There was a cinema in the parade at Baker Street Station, the Metropole. It was a very nice cinema. They used to do Saturday morning.
For entertainment mainly, we could go to pubs where you could have food as well, which was very popular.
But there were hardly any facilities for children, but you had this fantastic place called Regent's Park nearby.
The park was always open, children's time after school, so they would come through the park or they would all meet and play and make a noise.
I went to school on the other side in Avenue Road in St John's Wood and later on in Hampstead, so I would go through it a lot and in my holidays all the time. And the zoo was fantastic, so I've got lots of photographs of me in the zoo. As a child, with that facility nearby, you go to it. And I spent most of my childhood there.
Shopping has changed considerably. Shopping was individual shopping. Most of the shops in Marylebone High Street were privately owned.
They had a greengrocer's, a fish shop. They had a little home supermarket where it was more homely stuff rather than, supermarket-y stuff.
There were lots of wonderful little shops like that. Daunt Books was there, and now it's still there in a different form. And I used to go to a wonderful bookshop in Wigmore Street quite a lot. I love books, so I loved spending time in bookshops.
One of the oldest fish and chip shops in the whole of London is just off in Marylebone Lane. It is Golden Hind.
One of my mother's favourite places was a little greengrocer on the corner of Chiltern Street and Paddington Street, and she would send the children, my daughter was then about 10 or 11, and sent her out to get a little handful of cherries, which were her favourite, or apricots, which she loved. It was a different time completely. When I was growing up, fashion was very important.
Fashion led one's life. You went out and shopped anywhere to get the latest fashion.
I was young enough to wear miniskirts still, which was all the fashion. That all you ever wore once the minis come, and you couldn't wear anything else, of course, otherwise you regarded as really out of date.
We all wore very short skirts or hot pants. I did have a set of red hot pants that I wore with gold lame tights.
Well, my mother was a dress buyer. She was always terribly well dressed, as was my aunt, and my cousin in New York was a top fashion model. So I was very into the idea of beautiful women's clothes and smart men's clothes.
I've been working in a bank all my career, so for the last 60 years I've been wearing a suit, suit and tie.
What did you wear outside of work?
Minus the tie.
And I think I was fortunate. I never went out without anything. So I think I was a very, very well-dressed 2-year-old, and then less so later on.
This Ford Fiesta advert takes me back to the very early days of motoring, when family cars were getting slightly larger. It was only a 2-door car, but it could travel four people in reasonable comfort.
This Kodak advert really takes me back to the wonderful days I used to take loads of photographs with my friends when they came round, or even out in the street. Every time we went to the pub, we'd take photographs, and then the excitement of getting them developed.
That's a Mark I. They were the most dreadful cars. They were all dreadful cars in themselves.
Well, I do remember the spangles, and the black ones were my favourite and the green ones, and I would make sure I opened the packet and took the black and the green ones out, and everybody else could have the rest of them. But yeah, so it was a licorice. You don't get a lot of licorice sweets so much now, at least I haven't found them, but they were very nice. Spangles were very nice.
This advert really reminds me of Sainsbury's in Marylebone High Street, one of the very first supermarkets in the whole country. Everything was being advertised for the first time in this way. We'd only come out of rationing a couple of years beforehand. I think it's probably important to remember that. My parents would talk about rationing and the war, we'd come out of it. This was the future.
I love living in Marylebone. I love it. My children keep on saying, Mum, move to the seaside. I'd love that too, but I would never leave Marylebone.
We love it. We absolutely love it.
Delightful.
I adore living in Marylebone. I don't want to move out. I want to be buried here.
When you're tired of London, you're tired of life. No, I love it, I love it, I love it.